Please be seated. Good afternoon. I absolutely love the energy in the room. My name is Elaine Gagliardi, and it is my privilege as Dean of the University of Montana Alexander Blewett III School of Law to welcome you to the school's 112th hooding and commencement ceremony. I want to specially thank Justice Jim Shea and President Bodner for joining us and taking part in our graduation ceremonies. Today we honor the law class of 2023. We honor you for your diligent study of the law, for your demonstrated commitment to serving others, and for the energy you will devote to implementing and improving our system of justice and our world. We have a tradition at the law school to give those who are leaving us a clap out. So I ask parents, spouses, children, family, faculty, and friends of the class of 2023 to please stand and join me in clapping out and congratulating the law class of 2023. Graduates, you did not take this journey alone. Look to your left and to your right. Look in front of you and behind you, and at all those who are in this room to be with you today. The journey from beginning of 1L to the end of 3L happened as part of a community where each member of the law class of 2023 contributed to make our law school a more vibrant, caring, and compassionate place to live and learn. Thank you for the energy and enthusiasm you brought to honoring and reimagining those law school traditions that make us a community. Thank you for making those traditions yours and doing them your way. The law school and those who come after you will benefit from the kindnesses, ingenuity, and leadership each of you has contributed. Your actions have defined our school as a place where we care for more than ourselves, where we care for our community, for justice, and for a world where future generations thrive. You have demonstrated this with action when you provided, as a class, more than 2,780 pro bono service hours during your tenure. The law school community and the journey of the members of the class of 2023 has been enriched by the support and encouragement of each of you who have traveled here today to celebrate the achievements of these graduates. It is important for us to pause so that we may show our appreciation for everyone in this room who has worked each day of the last 3 years to support this graduating class. So now I ask the graduating class of 2023 to stand and express with applause your gratitude to the family and friends who are here for you. Before we continue, I also ask the mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-great-grandmothers that we honor today on Mother's Day to stand so that we can specially thank you for the support you give to your families and graduates. At the beginning of today's ceremony, I want to read the law school's land acknowledgement. This law school is on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. The Salish, Xanka, and Gillespie peoples, as well as the Blackfeet, Nez Perce, Shoshone, Bannock, and Coeur d'Alene, had and continue to have a crucial presence in the area. We acknowledge the role the legal system has played in the removal of Indigenous peoples from these lands, and through our commitment to education, service, and scholarship, strive to improve the quality of justice for future generations. Doing so demands respect for tribal sovereignty and Indigenous cultures, as well as accountability to the needs and perspectives of Indigenous peoples, who from time immemorial to the present and until the end of time, protect and remain connected with this land on which we gather, live, learn, and work. One of our law school commencement ceremony traditions is an honor song to recognize the accomplishments of today's law graduates. I am pleased to welcome Benji Headswift to the stage to perform the honor song. Please. Please stand if you are able and remove your hats.
Hey!
Thank you for that tribute. I would like now to introduce our stage party, beginning at my far left, your far right. Assistant Dean of Students, Katie Stack. Professor Andrew King-Reese. President Seth Bodner. Justice Jim Shea. Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Jordan Gross. And Assistant Dean of Students and Registrar, Charity Atterbury. I also want to thank interpreter Denise May for signing today. At this time, I invite Dean Atterbury and Dean Stack to present the student awards.
From the beginning of their journey at the Alexander Blewett III School of Law until now, each member of the class of 2023 has explored the ever-forward movement of the law with the utmost intellectual curiosity and hard work, and in doing so, has demonstrated integrity of character and a commitment to compassionate service.
Today, we celebrate and express gratitude to each of these students for that hard work and commitment to your education, your classmates, the legal profession, this community, and the world outside our community. And yes, to caring for yourselves, your families, and one another. You have made an indelible impact on this law school, and this place is, and we are, better because of you.
It is our honor to share with you today the names of those in the class of 2023 who have exemplified the characteristics that imbue the terms counselor and advocate with the noblest of purposes and intentions.
As we read the names of the award recipients, we ask each of the recipients to stand. John P. Acher, a beloved graduate and law professor at the University of Montana, sadly died at the early age of 37. The John P. Acher Award was established by his classmates to recognize outstanding achievement. I am confident that Professor Acher would have been privileged to know and teach Genevieve Schmidt Antonelli.
The Edward A. Kremer Award was established by Alice Kremer in memory of her son, Andrew Kremer, and his father, Edward Kremer. The Edward Kremer Award recognizes the best research paper in the field of environmental law. This year's award is Sarah Greenberg for her paper, Protecting Badger II, Returning the Land to the Blackfeet Nation.
The Dean's Award is given each year by the Dean of the School of Law in recognition of outstanding student leadership. This year, we are pleased to recognize Paul Hutton.
This year, the Special Dean's Award goes to Carly Smadala.
Norman Hansen was the founder and first editor-in-chief of the Montana Law Review. This award recognizes the best appellate brief and appellate advocacy, Victoria Hill.
The International Academy of Trial Lawyers Student Advocacy Award recognizes students who demonstrate exceptional ability in trial advocacy, Callie Woody and Talon Sandstrom.
Justin Miller, a member of the class of 2013, became an Associate Justice of the United States Court of Appeals, and served for many years as the President of the National Association of Broadcasters. The Justin Miller Award recognizes outstanding leadership of the Montana Law Review. This year's award recipient is Blake Comans for his paper, The Big Sky Shadow Docket, and for organizing the Law Review Symposium as a co-symposium editor.
membership in the Order of Barristers recognizes outstanding achievement in appellate advocacy. This year's recipients are Emily Steinberg, Brian Hagan, Victoria Hill, Callie Taylor, Paul Banks, Alex Skuntz, and Madison Tyson.
The Exceptional Pro Bono Legal Services Award recognizes exceptional volunteer legal services to benefit those who lack access to adequate legal services. This year's award winner is Lisa Woodward.
The Emmett C. Anglin Award recognizes a student who exemplifies dedication and commitment to the needs of low-income people. The award for this year goes to Cole Castelny.
The Growth Mindset Award celebrates a student who demonstrated significant growth in competence in a clinical law placement. This award goes to Terry Don Hall.
The J. Martin Burke Award recognizes a student who shows dedication and excellence in completing the clinic requirement. We are pleased to recognize Marty Likety.
The Clinical Legal Education Association Outstanding Student Award recognizes excellence in both the fieldwork and seminar components of clinical legal education. This award goes to Alex Skuntz.
The William Frost and Malin Smith Award recognizes exceptional work in the Marjorie Hunter Brown Indian Law Clinic and a strong commitment to protecting and enhancing the rights of Indian people and tribes. This year's recipient is Sarah Greenberg.
The For This and Future Generations Writing Award goes to Benjamin McKee for his paper, How Strong is Armstrong? What to Make of Montana's Ambiguous Autonomy Rights in a Post-Roe World. This year's prize honors the late Delegate Wade DeHood.
The Intellectual Property Law Section Grad Award goes to Spencer Pedamonte.
The outstanding student of the class of 2023 is nominated by members of their graduating class. Individuals nominated for this prestigious award exemplify good character, service to the legal community, service to the law school, and service to their fellow students. This year's Outstanding Student Award goes to Brian Hagan.
Please join us in applause as we congratulate this year's award recipients. Congratulations to all of you.
This is the first time in the history of the Alexander Blewett III School of Law, at least the first time in my memory, and I think I may be the oldest member of the faculty here, that the outstanding law student was also nominated by their class to give the student address. Please welcome to the stage Brian Hagan.
Thank you, Dean Gagliardi. Y'all, I've been concerned about today. I've been concerned because I hold these classmates of mine in such high esteem. And I have wondered if I could come up with any words that would reflect that level of admiration for them. So I went to the internet, as we do, and I studied a boy who compared his high school experience to a Rubik's Cube, and I asked ChatGPT to write my speech for me. But nothing felt right. I didn't want to admonish my class to practice ethically as ChatGPT insisted I do, because I know my classmates and their goodness is unquestionable. And I did not want to advise my class to live life to the fullest, because to know my class is to know that each of them is an adventurer. So finally I said, Brian, your class chose Brian Hagan to give the speech today, and I should just talk to y'all like Brian Hagan would, and that's what I'm going to do. And so what I would like to do is try and explain my class's story to you as I understand us. As most of you probably know, if there is any one thing that cements our class's reputation in the annals of AB3 history, it is the fact that we are the only class to have ever started our law school career remotely. We spent our entire first year on Zoom. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that we got to know each other through squares on a screen, through each other's bedrooms or basements or lofts, wherever we broadcasted from. And it means that in addition to the usual fear of being cold called in class, we had additional fears like, will my Windows decide to do a restart when my name is called? Or will my microphone make me sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks again today? We spend a little bit of time with each other in person, but those meetings were few and far between. We would sneak out and meet each other in each other's houses or whatever establishments were open at the time, or some people went on hikes. I saw some people at the gym. But something you may not realize is that for many of us, the first time we ever saw each other in person was by chance. So the first time I ever saw Callie and Marissa and Annie, they were honking at me on Main Street, shouting, Brian, and law school. And as someone who moved here from Birmingham, I didn't know anybody, and it felt real nice to be recognized. The first time that I saw Slade, he was working behind the bar at Cranky Sam's. The first time that I saw Sarah Brennan, I was driving down a dirt road out in the country, and she was riding a horse alongside of it. And the first time I saw Sonia, we were sitting next to each other on an airplane for about a half hour before we realized who each other was. And that's how our first year went. So we collected classmates like baseball cards, and the groups started to become larger, and we yearned to be around each other. And finally, the first day of our 2L year, we got our wish, and we were able to be with each other in person. And that is something I think every other class takes for granted, is just the gift of being able to be around one another. And it was such a joyous time, and we made up for lost time. We went wild, just, participating in probably too many clubs, and there was always a party or a Friday at 5 or a game or an outing, and people interned, people volunteered in the community, people volunteered at the school, either as TAs or heading up law firms. People wrote for law review. Some people got married during this time. Some people had babies during this time. It feels like just a whirlwind has picked us up and is just now setting us down here today in time to graduate. But we did not get here just by wind alone, and there are a lot of people that I feel compelled to thank on behalf of my class. So we're going to start that part where I thank people, and I know that is the part where everybody's eyes start glazing over. So let's do a quick stretch to just energize ourselves for the thank yous. While you are stretching, I'm going to recite for you a haiku that I had ChatGPT write for me about my favorite food, the delicious bologna sandwich. Bologna and bread. Well, now I forget it. I got to get out of this thing. Bologna and bread, simplicity at its best, satisfies my soul. Thank you. Now that we are all feeling the zest of life again, I'm going to begin thanking people. And I would like to start by thanking Dean Gagliardi. You know, the timing of life has its own designs, and I probably am the last person in our class that got to meet Dean Gagliardi this year. And I am so glad I've gotten to know her. You know, her kindness and just her gentle manner and so intelligent, and her connections to the legal industry are just what this school needs to position it for excellence, and we thank her. And I would like to thank our faculty. You know, I came to this school not knowing anything about law, and it has occurred to me this year as I talked to lawyers out in the field, people who have worked on the big cases that we learned about in our doctrinal classes. You know, they'll be explaining to me a legal process or a legal concept, and I'm able to say, I know what you're talking about. I can talk about this because I learned it in such and such a class. And that may seem like an obvious proposition to y'all, but for me it's an affirmation that we got what we came here for. I am ready to begin a legal career, and we have the faculty to thank for that. And the faculty who spends time not only teaching, but coaching us and mentoring us and coming to our events. You know, being a professor is full-time plus, and that plus does not go unnoticed, and we thank you very much. And we would like to thank the staff at the law school. They are the pit crew that keeps the cars on the track. And it takes a lot of grease to run a law school, and they do it with kindness, and they do it with patience. Patience even when the answer to our question is right on the form that they just handed us, if we would just read it. But I think they understand that often we are just trying to figure out what planet we are on, and we appreciate the grace that they afford us. I would like to thank our Career Services Department. You know, y'all may have heard of this before, but I have never before experienced an office whose purpose is just to help you find something to transition to after school. And it's such a good thing, and it is such a no-brainer, and yet new to me. And they do it with such expertise and such good humor, and I'm very appreciative of our Career Services Department. I would like to thank the people in the community, the judges and the lawyers and the court reporters that come into our classes and talk to us and judge our competitions and provide internships and clerkships. I've never seen such reach as this school has, bringing people back to assure our success. And I know that I speak for all of our class when I say that we will be ready to answer the call when it is our turn. Thank you. Along those lines, I would like to thank everybody who contributes financially to our school, people who provide general support, people who fund professorships, people who fund scholarships. They have been the lifeline to so many of us who are graduating here today, people who donate auction items or sponsor our symposiums. You inspire me, and I do plan on emulating your generosity when I am practicing. Thank you. I would like to recognize those who started this journey with us, and for as many reasons as there are people, their roads took them in a different direction before today. They are an important part of our story, and we will never forget your contribution to it. Thank you. And my last thank you is to all of our family and friends. Again, I would like to thank all the moms out there that exchanged their special day so that they could share in our special day. That's such a mom thing to do, right? But more generally, I have gotten to know so many spouses and partners and children and friends and pets of my classmates during the time we've been together. And they are as much part of our family as the people graduating here today, and they keep us going, and we thank them. And to round everything out, I would just like to say something to my class, and that is, I love you all very much. Thank you. I'm going to miss you so much, and I can't wait to see where each of your roads take you. You know, I like to say that life is like a choose-your-own-adventure story, and a few years back, we all made the same choice, and because of that choice, we became a part of each other's life for a time. And now, wiser and forever changed by knowing one another, we are making new choices that will have us spiraling away from each other towards our next destinies. And sometimes in Choose Your Own Adventure stories, we make choices that cause us to fall through a trap in the jungle. And if such a fate should befall any of you, I hope you can find the humor and the lesson in the situation. And remember that it is often our missteps that will refine us. And sometimes when we play a Choose Your Own Adventure story, our choices cause us to find a treasure chest. And today is one of those days. And because of our choices to work hard and practice discipline, we share a great victory today. I am so proud of each of you, and I am so proud to know each of you. And I am honored to be among the first to tell you, congratulations, graduates.
Thank you, Brian. It is my privilege now to introduce, as the speaker for today's ceremony, Montana Supreme Court Justice, the Honorable Jim Shea. Justice Shea was born and raised in Butte, America. After graduating from Butte Central Catholic High School, he attended the University of Montana, where he earned his undergraduate degree in 1988 and his law degree in 1991. Following graduation from law school, he served as law clerk to the Honorable Paul G. Hatfield of the United States District Court in Great Falls. After completing his clerkship with Judge Hatfield, Justice Shea moved to Portland, where he worked as a trial attorney with the Metropolitan Public Defender and then practiced civil law in the private sector. Justice Shea returned to Montana in 1996 and practiced in Missoula until 2005, when Governor Brian Schweitzer appointed him judge of the Workers' Compensation Court. He served as Workers' Compensation Judge until 2014. At that time, Governor Steve Bullock appointed him to the Montana Supreme Court. He was sworn in as an Associate Justice on June 2nd, 2014. Please join me in welcoming Justice Shea to the podium.
Thank you, and thank you, Dean Gagliardi, for that introduction. There are a couple of things I think I have to get out of the way up front. First of all, I'm not wearing this because, and it's not because of vanity. It is, well, not just a running joke, just a fact among my family and friends that I have a really big head. That's not a metaphor. I have an inordinately large cranium, and poor Kelsey, when she told me, well, these are one size fits all, I said, well, I've heard that before. And we destroyed one and decided I'd just carry the other one. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that I wasn't just worried about messing up my hair. The other thing I did have to note, just as kind of I think a remarkable coincidence, the last time I gave a speech was in Butte at a St. Patrick's Day banquet last year. And in that speech, too, I was led in a procession by bagpipers. And I thought, what are the odds that, 2 speeches in a row? And I kind of think I'm going to, depending on how this speech goes, I'm going to insist on that from now on. Well, congratulations, graduates of the class of 2023. And it's been said by Dean Gagliardi and Brian, wonderful talk there, that you should congratulate as well the family, the friends, the siblings, spouses, significant others for their contribution to this, because none of us do this alone, and I know you realize that. Before I really get into the heart of my talk today, I was really taken at all of the awards, and I was looking through the program, and it's really impressive. But I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't address something, and it's always kind of awkward and uncomfortable for me because I don't often like to brag about my humility. But you may not have noticed in Dean Gagliardi's introduction of me, and this is true if you go to the biography of me on the Supreme Court's website or even in my campaign website when I've been running for re-election, it never mentions the accolades and the honors and the awards that I received when I was in law school. And I'm not judging the people who do. I mean, you should rightly be proud of yours. But I've always insisted that those never be highlighted. And I do it for one very simple reason. There weren't any. But I hasten to add that I'm in good company. One of my sisters graduated in 1996. And when she graduated, the dean at that time was Ed Eck. And the commencement speaker was Governor Mark Roscoe. And it turns out that Dean Eck and Governor Roscoe were classmates in the class of '73. And Dean Eck similarly noted that when he was very impressed and touched at the awards that were being conferred upon the class of 1996, that he went back to the '73 commencement program to see what awards and honors had been conferred upon himself and Governor Roscoe, and it turns out neither one of them got any either. So I want to say in all sincerity at the outset to every single one of you graduating here today, you should be tremendously proud of yourselves. Today marks the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication, and you should celebrate it. You should definitely celebrate it today because you're going to have to start studying for the bar in a few days. But I want to particularly say to those of you who have earned the accolades and the honors and the distinctions, don't be discouraged. Just because you graduated with honors or even high honors, you can achieve great things too. I just wouldn't count on the State House or the Supreme Court. But in all seriousness, you should be proud of this accomplishment, and as has been referenced before, today, appropriately, will be about celebrating you and celebrating this accomplishment. But if you'll allow me a few minutes, I want to talk about some other people, and not just the people who appropriately we've recognized, the family, the friends, the teachers, the professors. Those are all part of your story that got you here today. But I hope you'll take a moment also today, and certainly in the future as you go about your practice, to think about the people who in many ways are no less responsible for you being here today, but that maybe aren't as obvious. In a letter to Robert Hooke, who was a fellow scientist of his era, Isaac Newton wrote, "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Now, Newton was talking about other scientists whose work he had used and built upon. But on this joyful day of celebration, I would submit to you that we all have giants in our personal histories that may not be so obvious, but who are no less important to our personal stories and our personal accomplishments. As Dean Gagliardi had referred, I was born and raised in Butte, America. That's right. I expected more of a response. I'm sorry. I am 100% Irish, and you would be, there we go. And you'd be forgiven if you didn't know that about me unless you'd had a conversation with me that lasted longer than 30 seconds. Because it's going to come up pretty frequently. That is part of my biography. And being from Butte, being Irish, it's who I am. And that's true of all of us. Not that you're maybe not fortunate enough to be from Butte and Irish, but our personal stories. That's true of all of us. We all have personal stories that go back generations. And who we are today and what we have accomplished, it is the product of generations of sacrifice of those who came before us. We are all standing on the shoulders of giants. One of my law clerks once commented that my chambers looks like the display room of a Butte Irish gift shop. And there are photographs in my chambers, multiple photographs of copper mines in the neighborhood where I grew up. I grew up way up on the hill in Butte. And there are those photographs, there are maps of Ireland where my family came from. But most significant to me is a photograph of my grandfather, my dad's dad, who was, not surprisingly, a copper miner. And it's not a great photograph. He doesn't look like he's particularly thrilled to be having his picture taken. He's not smiling. He's wearing a bathrobe, and he's sitting in a chair next to his hospital bed. And he'll die soon after that picture was taken, and he was still a fairly young man. And he died from silicosis, which is a terrible lung disease that claimed the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of miners in Butte back in that era. And it is the only photograph of him that anyone in our family has ever been able to find. And I can't say this for certain, but I'm fairly confident that the reason that that photograph was taken was because they knew he was dying, and they realized that after he died, there would not be any photographic evidence that he ever lived. Now, I never met him. He died over 20 years before I was born. But he came to Butte from Ireland as a teenager. He had a 5th grade education, and he met my grandmother, who was also an Irish immigrant. When he got to Butte, they married, they had several children. And his dream, like so many others, and I would venture to say pretty much everybody in this room today, their ancestors had a similar dream, was that not just that he was coming to a life that was going to be better than the life he left behind in Ireland, but even more importantly, was that the lives of his children and successive generations would be even better still. I mean, that is the very essence of the American dream. And he did, even though he died fairly young, he did get the tiniest glimpse of that dream. He got to see all of his children get high school diplomas, which was more than either he or my grandmother had had the opportunity to do. But he never not really got to know any of his grandchildren. He had 2 who were just infants when he died. But right next to that photo of that uneducated Irish immigrant copper miner from Ireland is a photo of one of those grandchildren being sworn into the Supreme Court. And the photo sits in a stand on my bookcase, and leaning up against it I have my first gavel that was a gift from the staff at the Workers' Compensation Court when I was sworn in as a judge. And I do that not just because it's a constant reminder that I'm only 2 generations removed from an Irish copper miner with a 5th grade education who died giving a better life to his descendants, most of whom he would never meet. I do it because it reminds me that but for his sacrifices and so many others, there would be no photo of a swearing in, and there would be no gavel. My My grandfather is one of my giants. My grandmother, who had very little education herself, widowed as a young woman while her sons were off fighting in the South Pacific in World War II, managed to soldier on. She's a giant. My father and his brother who came back from the war. And my dad was a voracious reader. He was reading, he died when I was quite young, but he was reading probably 1 or 2 books at all times. And he was just a voracious reader. He would have loved to have used his GI Bill to go to college. But he couldn't because he had a widowed mother who needed his help. And so he and my uncle, who also had a GI Bill, went to work in the same mine that took the life of their father. They're giants. And I tell this story because it's my family story, and so it's the one I know. But that story could be told in a million different variations for all of us here. We all have giants in our pasts whose shoulders we're standing on, and they're not in the history books, and they don't have Wikipedia pages, but they are no less important to our personal stories and our personal accomplishments. Whether they were miners or farmers or railroaders, steel workers, whatever, they are countless others who sacrificed for the future generations that we would never meet, that they would never meet. And we owe it to them to remember them, to honor their sacrifice, and to recognize the role that they played in where we are today. And specifically as it pertains to the practice of law, I would submit it is vitally important to remember where we came from and those who came before us. We have a legal system, and you are about to be part of that system. And it is both a great privilege and an awesome responsibility to ensure that the law is administered fairly to everyone. You're going to represent your clients tirelessly and zealously, as you absolutely should. But you have a duty to the system itself. And whatever area of law you practice, by definition, the people who need lawyers are going to be strangers to that system. And for many of you, these people are going to be from all walks of life. And I think there's an alarming tendency in our society to see other people as just others. We emphasize the other rather than the people. And it's easier to be dismissive of others when you think that you can't relate to them. Whether you're like me, in first generation that in his family to go to college, or you're a 5th generation of lawyers in your family, at some point in all of our personal histories, there was somebody who was the other, who was a stranger to the system, who needed help. And whether or not you think you can relate to these people that you're going to encounter during your years of practice, trust me, you can. When I was a kid, I was with my dad one day, and I heard a guy refer to him as a shanty Irishman. And this was somebody who he was friends with, and I didn't know what a shanty Irishman was, but I could tell from the context that it was intended as an insult. And so I asked my dad what a shanty Irishman was. And what struck me, I could tell from the context that this guy had intended it as an insult. And so what struck me, and why I still remember this to this day, is that my dad's response was, "You're damn right I am." And later I asked him what a shanty Irishman was, and he explained to me that there were 2 types of Irish. There are shanty Irish, and there are lace curtain Irish. And I asked him what the difference was, and he explained that shanty Irish was a term that was intended as an insult to denigrate the working class Irish who came to America, that they were coarse and unrefined, and that they were uneducated. And the lace curtain Irish were the Irish who, as he referred to them, made a few bucks, got an education, and assimilated into polite society. But my dad explained to me that the real insult was to be called a lace curtain Irishman. Because what he said was those were just the Irish who forgot where they came from. And he told me, he said, you're a reasonably bright kid. My dad was effusive in his praise that way. And he told me that no matter, education was really important to my parents. Neither one of them had gone to college. They insisted that all of my brothers and sisters and I get an education beyond what we could, and we did. Everybody graduated from college. 2 of us are lawyers. 1 has an MBA. And it was really important, but he wanted to stress to me, and he emphasized this. He says, no matter how much education you have, no matter how much money you make, no matter what jobs you have, you will always be a shanty Irishman. And he said, he characterized it literally as a sin to forget where you came from. And that is a lesson that has served me well as I've made my way through the legal profession as a lawyer, as a judge, but I think more importantly, just in terms of interpersonal relationships as a person. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I will confess that even this shanty Irishman has learned to make some adjustments over the years when absolutely necessary to function in polite society. Some may question whether I've fully assimilated, but I get by. Early in our marriage, my wife made the observation that being from Butte, we don't speak necessarily English as much as kind of an English dialect. And I told her that she didn't appreciate that given the Irish influence in Butte, our bastardization of the King's English was just a subtle form of protest. Nevertheless, depending on the audience and when absolutely necessary, I have learned how to make adjustments. For example, I've learned to say, "How are you today?" instead of, "How's she going?" I've learned how to say, "Have a nice day," instead of, "Tap her light." And probably most important in light of the dignity of my office and in deference to the more refined sensibilities of some of my colleagues on the court, at least when I'm in conference discussing cases with the other justices, I've learned how to say, "Oh, really?" instead of, "No shit." A brief digression, I have to say, I actually vetted that last line with the Chief Justice. And he made 2 observations. The first observation was, he says, I don't think you've really learned those rules as well as you think you have. And his second observation was he saw no problem with it, but then, of course, he's also a Butte Irishman, so I will confess that I kind of gamed the system by using him as my sounding board. But I will say, as one final caveat, that notwithstanding the obvious sophistication I've developed over the years, that you will never convince me that the plural of you is not yous. So congratulations, though, class of 2023. Be proud of this accomplishment, celebrate this accomplishment, but today, and as you go through what I hope and pray will be a rewarding and fulfilling career, remember to honor all those who made it possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Shea, for those inspiring words. And the law school wants to express our gratitude with a gift for you and a gift for your spouse for giving us her Mother's Day. Each year, the students choose a professor to serve as reader. And this year, Professor King-Reese has that honor. And it is time for him to do his job and for us to do our job and hood you. I invite Professor King-Reese to come to the podium and Deans Stack and Atterbury to come forward for the hooding and President Bodner to come forward as well. Professor Wandler, as Marshal, will you lead the class of 2023 to the stage as their names are called?
Valen Anthos. with high honors. With high honors and a certificate in natural resources and environmental law, and the winner of the Paul Raftery Award for outstanding work in an environmental law clinic. Catherine Arno. Lindsay Bales. Paul Banks with honors. Sarah Berry. Natalie Bergen Henningowen. Devin Giacomo Bray with high honors. Sarah Brennan. Kenyon Cairns. Cole Catlin. Henry Charpentier with honors. Dion Che. Matthew Cranston with honors. Emily Dardis. Cameron Doran. Zachary Duhan. Brian Dupuis. Samuel Fossum. Trevor Parrish Funseth. Malcolm Gilbert. Sarah Greenberg, with certificates in natural resources and environmental law and in American Indian law. Brian Hagan with honors. Terry Don Hall. Courtney Harold. Slade Hagan. Alana Highwell. Shelley Hendrickson Scott with a certificate in natural resources and environmental law. Victoria Hill with honors and pro bono honors. Kristen Lane Hochhalter. Annie Holland. Kendra Hall. Paul Andrew Hutton III. Elizabeth James. Natalie Judy with honors. Everett Johns. Madeline P. Culliva. Matthew Kelso. Jessica Cook. Victoria Koch with pro bono honors. Blake Comans with honors. Cole Castelny with honors. Zachary Crum. Denise LaFontaine with high honors and pro bono honors. Stefan Lasitra with pro bono honors. Marty Lichty with pro bono honors. Charles Loken. Benjamin McKee with high honors. Garrett Miglin with honors and pro bono honors and a certificate in American Indian law. Eric Monroe. Sheila Morrison. Carl Nichols. Claire Oles. James Olson. Frank Olvey. Lauren O'Neill. Danielle Pease. Spencer Pedamonte with high honors. Hamilton Platt with honors. Dylan Rotz. Taylor Riggs with a certificate in Natural Resources and Environmental Law. Talon Chantry Sandstrom. Genevieve Schmidt Antonoli. Carly Smidala. Annabelle Smith. Emily Steinberg with honors and pro bono honors. Callie Taylor. Madison Tyson. Elizabeth Jessica Vicencio. Marissa Wallstrom. Sonia Walker. Aspen Ward. Henry Westison. Lisa Woodward with a certificate in American Indian Law and pro bono honors. Callie Woody with high honors.
It is an honor to welcome President Bodner to confer the degrees. Will the class of 2023 please rise? President Bodner, on behalf of the faculty of the Alexander Blewett III School of Law at the University of Montana, I am pleased to present these candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor.
Thank you, Dean Gagliardi. And before I proceed with the official language, I just want to once again thank everyone for being here. And on behalf of the entire University of Montana and the Montana University system, I want to offer my deep, deep congratulations to our graduates and all of those that are here that made today possible. What a fantastic day, and I'm so both happy to celebrate all that you have achieved here at the University of Montana and all that you will do moving forward. So with that, by virtue of the authority of the Regents of the Montana University system, and upon the recommendation of the law faculty, I hereby confer the Juris Doctor degrees upon those of you who have successfully completed all the requirements. Let us recognize these successful candidates.
Thank you, President Bodner. The great thing about being dean is I get to have the last word today, which is wonderful, because I want to start by saying congratulations to the class of 2023. You guys are an awesome, awesome class. So as you enter a profession that is immensely fulfilling and rewarding, I encourage you each day to express gratitude to the people who assist and support you in your quest to help your clients and to make a difference for others. Recalling the words of the character Ferris Bueller, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. So, for that reason, I also encourage you to savor your journey in the law. Reflect on accomplishments, celebrate victories, learn from failures. Most importantly, never forget your ideals and your values. In the words of Bart Giamatti, who served as president of Yale University and who influenced me as I began my undergraduate studies, he said, "You must know that idealism is not paralyzing, but liberating, and that to strive for principles, even if the journey is never completed, is to tap a vast source of energy, the energy to commit to do your best in the precious brief time each of us is blessed to have. You must not waver. I know you will not." Again, congratulations to the class of 2023.